Welcome back to the Roubo build part 2. Today, I'm going to give myself brain damage building the top and flattening it with a router jig. I'm only partially kidding about the brain damage. Things can get tough when you're all enthusiastic but clueless. It is not bumper sticker philosophy to state that this bench build is a bit like life. It's a learn as you go thing. Having said that, I did apply every bit of knowledge and experience that I have into this bench. Heart and soul, blood and bruises. Okay, so I wasn't sure how I was going to glue this up from boards, but I tried my first method, and as you can see, that delamination, like it never really got a good bond. And yeah, I'm just not really satisfied with this technique right there. Yeah. So I will repurpose these and shift to a new technique, which I have already tried. And that is this, just gluing them straight up, two of them together, laminate them into a sturdy board. As you can see, much neater, much better. So, Dutch, okay. Now that I have a method, I start going glue up happy. I'm going to need a lot of those doubles. Yeah, that's what I'm calling gluing up two boards to create a bigger board. Whether or not you're interested, I'm going to tell you the dimensions of each board was planed to 11/16 of an inch thick. That means a double is 22/16, or 1 6/16, or 1 3/8, or 35 millimeter, or 3.5 centimeter, or 1/25 of a pyramid inch. Here, I'm scraping any excess glue off the face of each board before I begin making the bigger boards. After this, I move over to the joiner and surface one edge, which will be the bottom. The top will be taken care of during the flattening process. I cut and fit the board that will fit in between the two tenons and begin gluing up what will be the front face of the bench. After the glue is cured for a little while, I test fit my work and make any adjustments with my mallet, also known as the persuader. I removed the front piece and prepped the end pieces for glue up. Yeah, that didn't really make a whole lot of sense. It might. Just watch. See? I told you it made sense. Who loves you, baby? I'm sure I could have glued up all the boards to length and then cut the mortise portion out with the dado on the table saw. But I thought the method I was using was a little better because I didn't have to burn time and energy going back and forth from the saw to the base, creeping up on the cut. You know, I spent a lot of time in the shower contemplating the top assembly. What I came up with, as you are seeing it, was to break each step into its base components. This means a lot of repetition, but it also provides the best level of control, I think. For example, if something goes completely cattywampus in one stage, it's not as great of a problem as if, say, I were to glue up all the top boards together at once and then discovering a problem exists. I'm not a spring chicken. I have no interest in manhandling an 80-pound timber. There wasn't a lot of wobble from the rest of the beams, but this one just had to be stubborn. I performed some woodworking yoga to find the contact points and used a chisel to adjust the fit until the beam rested flat. Yeah, I get it. There were other ways that I could have used that would have done the same job. So, where were you while I was building this thing? A? It's time for some truth. I want y'all to know that right here, all that tapping isn't doing a thing. I made this mallet heavy and I enjoy using it. Also, I don't often get the chance. So, here, enjoy a montage. wanted this first part of the top to be a specific dimension. So I take the last section needed for glue up to the planer to get the desired thickness. With the first part of the top complete, I begin the same process for the second part. This will be the front of the bench. After I glue up the end pieces and set the beam on the bench, I glue up the mating piece. This part includes the gap for the tail vise, which will take shape shortly. By now you are no doubt wondering how much glue I've used. My nearest estimate is 3 quarts, and I'm using Type Bond 3. I paid about $25 for this gallon, which was a steal. I'll let you do the math as far as the cost of the 3 quarts. While I wait for the glue to cure enough to work the next section, I switch gears and dimension the faceplate for the leg vise. I know what you're going to say. It's not a leg vise unless it's 3 feet in length and weighs 35 pounds. I don't know what else to call it, so keep up. Hooray! I made it to the last section. As a huge grin spreads across my face, knowing my calculations were accurate and the split was uniform all the way down the longitudinal axis. Ooh, look at Mr. Big Shot using big words. Yeah, I know. It's time for a little bit more honesty. This part, more than any other, had me frazzled. What you see here was the fourth iteration of me setting up these rails. The previous three left me wondering if I could really pull this off. So I did what I rarely do. I walked away. I shut it all down, took a shower, pondered the meaning of existence, and watched a few more videos. After one day of thinking about it, I grew impatient sitting on my butt and decided to just go for it. I liberated a baby glue gun from my wife, removed the last of the clamps, and set the rails up for my flattening jig. I bought this 2-flute straight bit just for this task, and as you'll soon see in just a second, it's going to get the job done. I took a deep breath, and in a sphincter tightening moment among sphincter tightening moments, I began my first pass. I measured the areas left after the first pass and reset the bit just under 1/8 of an inch to complete the second pass. And it should be the final one. I made 2 passes with the circular saw before switching to a handsaw to complete the cut. I do this on both ends. I whip out the tail vise screw as a quick reference prior to cutting this end. Before I sand the bench, there are a few gaps, way less than expected, that need to be filled. I use the bigger sawdust from the planer for the larger gaps, and I use the finer sawdust from the sander for the smaller gaps. Make sense? I don't feel the need to subject you to all of the sanding. I just want you to know that I sanded the entire bench with 150, 180, and 220 grit. I didn't feel the need to go beyond this. And so this concludes part 2 of my split top Roubo build. In part 3, I assemble all the hardware and I lay out the bench dog holes and drill those. Here's a sneak peek at the finished product, including the hand-carved handles shown in part 4. Enjoy!